Mega evolution began as a mystery of power and emotion, a transformation that blurred the line between science and myth. In the Kalos region, researchers described it as an awakening, a surge of hidden energy released when a Pokémon shared an unbreakable bond with its trainer. This process, channeled through megastones and keystones, caused temporary but astonishing metamorphoses, often exaggerating a Pokémon's defining traits to their ultimate form. Lucario was among the first to show this phenomenon to the world. Known for its mastery over aura, Lucario's mega evolution heightened its senses beyond measure, allowing it to perceive energy even through solid walls. Its body sharpened, its fur grew longer, and its aura pulsed like living light. Trainers said that during the transformation, Lucario could feel not just emotions, but intentions reading its partner's heart with perfect clarity. Mega Gardevoir offered a softer interpretation of this power. When it evolved, its gown-like body expanded into a full ballroom silhouette, a symbol of elegance shielding immense psychic might. Its Pokédex entries say that Mega Gardevoir could distort space itself to protect its trainer. Unlike many Megas that became more feral or battle-hardened, Gardevoir's design emphasized grace over aggression. Game Freak once explained that they wanted her form to embody the idea that love can be just as powerful as rage. In contrast, Mega Charizard demonstrated how the same Pokémon could evolve in two drastically different directions. Mega Charizard X burned with blue fire and gained the dragon typing long denied to its species, symbolizing raw physical strength and primal dominance. Meanwhile, Mega Charizard Y became sleeker and faster, its flames burning hotter, its special attacks refined to perfection. These twin designs represented the split of instinct and intellect, a duality that became one of the defining features of the Mega Evolution era. The introduction of Mega Evolution in Pokémon X and Y also redefined competitive play. Only one Pokémon per team could Mega Evolve, a limitation that forced players to strategize carefully. This single-slot rule gave weight to each decision. Trainers had to decide whether their Mega would be a defensive bulwark like Mega Venusaur, an unstoppable sweeper like Mega Kangaskhan, or a trickster like Mega Gengar. Mega Kangaskhan, in particular, shocked the competitive world. Its ability, Parental Bond, let it attack twice in a single turn, the second hit dealing reduced damage, but still activating secondary effects like flinches or status changes. This made it one of the most dominant Pokémon in history, so much so that it was eventually banned from several formats. Mega Gengar was another standout. When it transformed, its mischievous grin deepened and it sank partially into the ground as if merging with the shadows. Its ability, Shadow Tag, prevented opponents from switching out, trapping them in battle. Combined with its immense special attack and speed, this made it one of the most fearsome Pokémon in existence. Many trainers considered Mega Gengar the embodiment of the phrase, "the best offense is control." Its design, half ethereal and half solid, captured the eerie idea of a ghost being halfway between worlds. One fascinating detail about Megastones is that their names end with "ite," a suffix derived from minerals. Each one corresponds to the Pokémon species name Lucarionite, Gardevoirite, Gengarite, giving a sense of ancient relics or sacred crystals. Lore from Kalos suggests these stones were created thousands of years ago when a powerful weapon released immense energy into the world. This energy crystallized and embedded itself within certain species, giving them the latent ability to mega evolve. The idea that such a destructive force led to something beautiful encapsulates one of Pokémon's recurring themes, that power and compassion are two sides of the same coin. The transformation process was always portrayed as intense. In the anime, Mega Evolution bursts were depicted with a flash of light and energy so strong it distorted the air. The Pokémon would cry out not in pain, but in a release of overwhelming energy before emerging renewed. The bond between trainer and Pokémon was key. Without it, the transformation would fail or destabilize. This was showcased in the Kalos anime arc, where Lucario initially struggled to control its power, becoming wild and unresponsive until it learned to sync its aura with its trainer's heart. That storyline paralleled the themes of restraint and trust that define the Pokémon world. Mega Blaziken was one of the first Mega Evolutions revealed to the public and served as a symbol of the mechanic's potential. Its flames grew longer, its claws sharper, and its fighting spirit seemed almost divine. It even gained the speed boost ability, allowing it to outpace nearly any opponent after a few turns. In contrast, Mega Mawile took a Pokémon once considered weak and made it terrifying. With its huge power ability doubling its attack stat, it instantly became a top-tier physical attacker. Its twin jaws, once cartoonishly oversized, now looked like demonic visages, giving Mawile an aura of something ancient and cunning. This balance between revitalizing forgotten Pokémon and refining existing powerhouses made the Mega system so beloved. Mega Evolution also allowed artists to explore dramatic design extremes. Mega Ampharos, for example, gained flowing white hair and the dragon typing, transforming it from an electric sheep into a celestial creature. The developers even joked internally that it finally realized it was a dragon all along. Mega Metacam took its spiritual motif further, sitting in a constant meditative stance, surrounded by glowing beads of psychic energy. Mega Sableye hid behind a massive red gemstone, reflecting attacks like a mischievous mirror. Each design told a story. Some Megas became grander, others more feral, and a few, like Mega Audino, turned unexpectedly gentle. One of the most iconic Megas, Mega Mewtwo, reflected limitless potential. It received two forms, Mega Mewtwo X, the muscular fighter, and Mega Mewtwo Y, the serene psychic. Both drew from its backstory as a creature engineered to surpass nature itself. Mega Mewtwo Y's Pokédex entry even states that its power is so immense it can use all of its psychic abilities without moving a single muscle. These details painted Mega Evolution not as mere transformation, but as transcendence, a glimpse of what happens when emotion, history, and energy align. And yet, for all its beauty, Mega Evolution carried an undertone of danger. Kalos lore warned that the process could strain a Pokémon's body, even causing pain if misused. Some Pokédex entries imply that it shortens lifespan or leaves lingering exhaustion. This shadow in the concept made Mega Evolution feel more grounded, more mythic. It was not just about strength, it was about the cost of reaching it. Like many myths of power, it reminded players that every great surge of energy came with a toll. Mega Evolution continued to reshape the world of Pokémon when new forms began appearing outside of Kalos. The Hoenn region, in particular, became the second home of Mega Evolution during the events of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Here, the ancient land of volcanoes and coral reefs resonated with a unique form of life energy known as infinity energy, which powered the world's first megastones. Researchers discovered that this energy could interact with the emotional resonance between a Pokémon and its trainer, allowing a temporary return to a primal state of heightened form and spirit. Some Pokémon were said to channel not just raw energy, but the memories of their species' origins when they evolved in this way. Mega Metagross stood at the forefront of these discoveries. Steven Stone, the Hoenn champion and a lover of rare stones, used it as his signature Pokémon, and it became a living symbol of evolution, perfected through intelligence. Upon Mega evolving, Metagross merged all four of its brains into a single hive mind, giving it immeasurable processing speed. The cross-shaped metal face on its body became more angular and sleek, reflecting both its psychic clarity and metallic dominance. Competitively, it gained immense speed and attack, making it one of the deadliest threats in the metagame. Its design, sharp and mechanical, was inspired by both alien spacecraft and industrial machinery, a fusion of nature and technology that mirrored Stephen's obsession with geology and perfection. Mega Salamence, another of Hoenn's iconic transformations, embodied the dreams of flight turned into power. Its crescent-shaped wings, resembling a glider or even a scythe, symbolized its pure devotion to the skies. In lore, Salamence's megaform represented ultimate aerial mastery, its wings forming from hardened energy as a result of its overwhelming desire to soar forever. But its newfound grace came with immense ferocity. Pokédex entries even mention that it attacks anything that disturbs its flight. In competitive circles, it became so powerful that it was eventually banned from many tiers for being nearly unstoppable, with its aerolate ability turning ordinary normal-type attacks into devastating flying-type blows. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Mega Beedrill proved that even the most underestimated Pokémon could become terrifying. Once viewed as a fragile early-game bug, Beedrill's Mega form increased its speed and attack dramatically, giving it one of the highest offensive potentials in its generation. Its stingers elongated to nearly twice its body length, and its eyes narrowed into a hunter's focus. Game Freak's artists intentionally designed it to look aerodynamic and needle-like, reflecting the precision of a living weapon. In battle, its adaptability ability doubled the power of its same-type moves, making it capable of striking far above its weight class. Mega Pidgeot followed a similar redemptive path. A Pokémon once known primarily for nostalgia, its Mega form turned it into a majestic predator of the skies. Its crest stretched outward like golden flames, and its eyes glowed with focus. It gained the ability No Guard, ensuring that all of its special attacks hit perfectly. This ability was a subtle nod to its aerial precision, the idea that a master of the wind never misses its mark. Its new status made it a viable contender in competitive battles for the first time in decades. Other designs leaned into humor or subversion. Mega Slowbro, for instance, became almost entirely encased in its Shelter partner, standing upright with a goofy grin as it spun like a top in battle. The artists confirmed that this design was meant to represent a friendship gone too far, where the Shelter's grip turned protective rather than parasitic. Despite its comical appearance, it gained incredible defenses, making it one of the sturdiest walls in its era. Mega Audino, meanwhile, was one of the few fairy-type megas introduced in the Hoenn remakes. Its transformation reflected kindness and serenity. It gained soothing patterns across its body, and its healing abilities grew stronger. Unlike many aggressive forms, Mega Audino represented tranquility, serving as a reminder that Mega Evolution wasn't only about battle, it could also express nurturing energy. The trio of Hoenn starters also received their own Mega forms, each embodying a different elemental philosophy. Mega Blaziken became a furnace of unstoppable momentum. Mega Swampert grew massive and muscular, built to dominate under rain, and Mega Sceptile transformed into a dragon, its tail becoming a blade of energy capable of firing explosive projectiles. These forms not only paid tribute to the region's identity, but also gave new life to familiar partners. Design philosophies during the Mega era often drew from exaggeration. Each Pokémon's most defining trait was amplified. Mega Houndoom's infernal flames extended across its back, inspired by folklore of demonic hounds chasing lost souls. Mega Scissor's claws became jagged weapons designed for a single strike that could split metal. Mega Altaria, on the other hand, took a softer approach. Its cloud-like wings grew so large they wrapped around its body, and its new Dragon Fairy typing turned it into one of the most balanced Pokémon ever created. Its design team described it as a living lullaby, a concept that fits perfectly within the peaceful, dreamlike tone of Pokémon's world. The development team treated each Mega form as a chance to explore extremes of personality. Some designs reflected evolution through emotion. Mega Gyarados, for example, became a water-dark type, embodying the destructive wrath mentioned in its lore. The change from pure water to darkness symbolized rage consuming reason, a visual echo of the myth about a carp transforming into a vengeful dragon. Mega Gardevoir and Mega Gallade were created as counterparts, one embodying elegance, the other courage. When viewed side by side, their designs resemble a bride and groom, an intentional contrast between compassion and valor. Mega Absol took a similar emotional approach. Known for being misunderstood as an omen of disaster, its mega form sprouted angelic wings of light not for flight, but as a symbol of truth. The wings were meant to convey that it tries to warn people of danger, not cause it. This small design decision changed how fans perceived Absol forever, turning it from an unlucky sign into a misunderstood guardian. Mega Sableye also revealed how playful the concept could be. Instead of becoming larger or more menacing, it hid behind an enormous gemstone. That gemstone, said to be crystallized darkness, absorbed attacks and reflected the greed of its species. The developers designed it as a commentary on how power can become a shield when used wisely, but a prison when clung to. Through all these forms, Mega Evolution expanded the Pokémon universe both thematically and mechanically. It gave the world a sense of rediscovery. Old Pokémon reborn in new light, legends revived through bonds, and the idea that even within familiar shapes, untapped potential always waits. When Mega Evolution reached the realm of the legendary and mythical, it became more than a battle mechanic. It became a window into divinity. These transformations were not just stronger forms, but expressions of power beyond understanding. Each legendary Mega seemed to reflect a different element of existence: creation, balance, and beauty. The developers treated these designs with an almost sacred touch, ensuring that every one of them carried narrative significance alongside their immense strength. Mega Mewtwo was the first legendary to receive not one, but two Mega forms. In the lore, Mewtwo had already been portrayed as the pinnacle of artificial evolution, a clone of Mew, created through human ambition and hubris. When given access to a Mega Stone, it transcended even that. Mega Mewtwo X represented physical mastery, gaining the fighting type and a muscular humanoid frame meant to channel raw force. Meanwhile, Mega Mewtwo Y retained its psychic purity, focusing on mental perfection. Its new form was lean and ethereal, with floating appendages and a design reminiscent of pure thought given shape. Game Freak explained that the duality between the two was intentional. X symbolized the body, while Y symbolized the mind. Both forms pushed the idea that evolution could have multiple paths toward power, each representing a different philosophy of strength. Rayquaza's Mega Evolution, revealed in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, stood apart from all others. Unlike every other Pokémon that required a Mega Stone, Rayquaza achieved its transformation through its own power. Its body absorbed energy from meteors over thousands of years, storing that cosmic force within its scales. When it unleashed this energy using the move Dragon Ascent, it entered its Mega form naturally. This idea, that Rayquaza did not need external help, emphasized its role as the guardian of the skies and the mediator between land and sea. Its mega design reflected divine authority. The glowing rings along its body represented atmospheric currents, and its beard-like fins were inspired by ancient Eastern dragons, giving it a regal, timeless appearance. In competitive play, Mega Rayquaza was so powerful that it broke the established rules entirely, leading to the creation of a separate tier just to contain it. Its presence alone symbolized absolute balance and chaos intertwined. Another mythical Pokémon that received a mega evolution was Diancie, a creature already born from gemstones. Its mega form enhanced its beauty to an almost divine level. The crystals that made up its body grew outward like a crown, refracting light into rainbow hues. The design team said that Mega Diancie represented a moment of perfection, capturing the instant before a diamond reaches its final form. In battle, its stats reflected this elegance, trading some durability for blinding speed and destructive power. It became both graceful and devastating, like a jewel-turned weapon. The lore described Mega Diancie as being capable of carving air itself with the sharpness of its gems, a poetic nod to how nature and artistry coexist. Latios and Latias shared a rare connection as twin legendaries that both gained nearly identical megaforms. The choice was deliberate. The designers wanted to show that while these Pokémon were opposites in color and personality, one representing logic, the other emotion, their ultimate evolution was one of unity. In their mega states, their bodies became streamlined, almost jet-like, allowing them to soar faster than any other Pokémon. They were said to be capable of crossing oceans in a heartbeat, leaving behind trails of light in the sky. Players who rode them in Omega, Ruby, and Alpha Sapphire experienced this firsthand, gliding across Hoenn's Islands in one of the most cinematic features of the series. While Rayquaza's transformation symbolized natural power and Mewtwo's reflected human creation, Mega Latios and Latias bridged the two, their forms powered by trust and emotional resonance. This balance of myth and relationship became the central theme of the Mega era. The lore suggested that every Mega evolution, no matter how divine, relied on something deeply human, connection. Even the competitive side of these legendaries carried symbolic weight. Mega Mewtwo Yi's overwhelming special attack represented psychic clarity, while Mega Mewtwo X's monstrous physical power symbolized tangible determination. Mega Diancie's offensive grace showed that elegance could be lethal, and Mega Rayquaza's unrestricted power reminded the world that not all forces can be contained. Together, they embodied the extremes of evolution, a balance between mastery, instinct, and control. The artistic inspiration behind these legendaries also carried layers of meaning. Mega Mewtwo Y's design borrowed from embryonic shapes, meant to look like the concept of psychic potential unshackled. Mega Rayquaza's flowing ribbons of energy were inspired by atmospheric trails and comet tails, representing its bond with the heavens. Mega Diancie's crystalline explosion was drawn from geode formations found deep within the earth, linking underground pressure to celestial beauty. The duality of sky and stone, of Rayquaza and Diancie, gave Mega Evolution a poetic symmetry between above and below. Another fascinating detail lies in how these legendaries were distributed in the games. Mewtwo's Megastones were hidden within the caves of Kalos, representing deep reflection and meditation. Diancie's was an event-exclusive gift, emphasizing its rarity and mythic presence. The Eon Twins' Megastones were given during story progression in Hoenn, tying their transformations directly to the player's emotional journey. These choices were intentional. Game Freak wanted the player to feel that Mega Evolution wasn't just about collecting stones, but about earning the right to witness transformation through experience. In the anime and movies, Mega Legendaries were treated almost like deities. Genesect and The Legend Awakened gave viewers their first glimpse of Mega Mewtwo Y even before the games released, creating massive anticipation. Later, Diancie and the Cocoon of Destruction portrayed Mega Diancie's transformation as a moment of spiritual awakening. In the special episodes Mega Evolution Acts 1 through IV, Rayquaza's Mega form became the climactic revelation, a visual metaphor for transcendence beyond limits. These cinematic portrayals captured what the games implied, that Mega Evolution was both a gift and a burden, a state of power that demanded purpose. Even within the lore's subtle contradictions, there's poetry. Mewtwo, born from science, reaches enlightenment through empathy. Rayquaza, born of nature, achieves power through cosmic memory. Diancie, born of earth, finds grace through transformation. Each one tells the same story from a different element: mind, sky, and stone. Together, they formed the spiritual backbone of the Mega era, a trinity of creation and harmony, mirroring the very balance of the Pokémon world itself. The Hoenn region became the spiritual heart of Mega Evolution, not just because of the number of Pokémon that could achieve it, but because of the stories it carried. The remakes of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire didn't just revisit a beloved world, they reimagined it through the lens of cosmic balance. The discovery of infinity energy, the mysterious force responsible for powering both Mega Evolution and ancient weaponry, gave Hoenn's myths a scientific yet emotional foundation. This energy, drawn from the life force of Pokémon, was said to have existed for thousands of years, quietly pulsing through the world's crust and skies. The lore traced infinity energy back to an event 3,000 years before the modern era, to a time when a great war ravaged Kalos. A grieving king named AZ created a device called the Ultimate Weapon, intending to revive his beloved Pokémon who had perished in battle. The machine succeeded, but the cost was catastrophic. The weapon absorbed the energy of countless other Pokémon to fuel its resurrection, releasing a blinding pulse that scorched the land. That pulse, the condensed essence of life and destruction, scattered across the planet. In Hoenn, it crystallized into megastones. The stones that trainers now hold are remnants of that tragedy, small echoes of sorrow turned into beauty. Infinity energy connected Kalos and Hoenn in ways that transcended geography. It was the same current that powered the meteors falling from the sky, the same energy that flowed through Rayquaza's body, and the same life spark that responded to human emotion. Professor Cosmo and Stephen Stone theorized that this energy didn't just allow mega evolution, but also shaped natural phenomena, from tides to tectonic plates. The Hoenn region's reputation for natural extremes, endless ocean, and volcanic land made it the perfect stage for studying these forces. During the Delta episode, the myth expanded further. A massive meteor was seen hurtling toward the planet, threatening to erase everything. This was not the first such event. The world had faced similar catastrophes long ago. According to the legend, Rayquaza appeared during one such ancient disaster to calm the raging forces of the sea and land, symbolized by Kyogre and Groudon. The dragon ascent that triggered Rayquaza's mega evolution was described not as a battle move, but as an act of divine intervention, absorbing the meteor's cosmic energy to enter its radiant state. When it did, its emerald scales glowed brighter than the sun, streaked with trails of gold as it soared upward, part serpent, part god. The Delta episode also hinted at a secret much deeper than even the Hoenn legends: the existence of alternate universes, In one reality, the meteor was destroyed by Mega Rayquaza. In another, it struck the planet, wiping out civilizations. These alternate outcomes suggested that Mega Evolution energy could transcend timelines, bending the laws of space itself. This concept quietly planted the seeds for what would later become the multiverse idea in Sun and Moon. Even though the Hoenn story focused on primal forces, it subtly opened the door to cosmic ones. The human characters in these stories reflected different philosophies about power. Steven saw Mega Evolution as a connection between trainer and Pokémon, a partnership that revealed the best of both. Wallace treated it as an art form, a dance of trust and beauty, but Zinnia, the mysterious lore keeper of the Draconid people, warned of its danger. She claimed that the power to summon meteors and awaken gods came from the same energy that fueled destruction. Her people worshipped Rayquaza as the one who brought peace to warring elements, yet they also remembered the devastation that led to that peace. Zinnia's warnings reminded players that every miracle had a shadow. Even the stones themselves carried symbolic meaning. The keystone, worn by the trainer, represented human will, the conscious choice to guide transformation. The Megastone represented Pokémon potential, the natural power waiting to be awakened. When these two resonated, infinity energy bridged the gap between them, creating a moment of harmony so intense it altered reality. The designers described this resonance as the sound of two hearts becoming one. The way the games visualized this was subtle but profound. When a Pokémon Mega evolved, the screen flared with prismatic light and spinning rings. The trainer's keystone glowed, and a heartbeat-like pulse connected them. For a brief instant, the two beings shared the same spirit. That moment, silent, bright, fleeting, captured the essence of the entire mechanic. It was not evolution through time or item, it was evolution through emotion. In Hoenn's mythology, the Megastones were scattered not randomly, but in sacred places, caves, volcanoes, islands, locations tied to the planet's pulse. Many stones were buried near sites where ancient disasters occurred, suggesting that when infinity energy burst from the ultimate weapon, it embedded itself in these fault lines of history. When the player explored these areas, they weren't just collecting items, they were retracing the scars of the world. Even the visual designs of the Hoenn Megas reflected the region's elemental nature. Mega Swampert embodied water's strength and pressure, with muscles that looked like carved coral. Mega Sceptile's tail became a blade of lightning, symbolizing storms born from rainforests. Mega Blaziken's flames resembled volcanic eruptions, surging upward as if fueled by magma. Together, they formed a miniature reflection of Hoenn itself: sea, forest, and fire. Infinity energy also tied into the mysterious life forms known as Deoxys and Jirachi. The meteor that brought Deoxys to Earth was said to contain the same energy that triggered Mega Evolution, suggesting a shared cosmic origin. Jirachi, capable of awakening every 1,000 years, may have been the living embodiment of infinity energy's renewal cycle. Though these connections were never made explicit in the games, they formed a thematic bridge that life, evolution, and destruction are all fueled by the same cosmic heartbeat. The Delta episode concluded with Rayquaza ascending to the heavens, its megaform shining brighter than the meteor it destroyed. The sky cleared, and silence followed, a silence that felt less like an ending and more like a return to balance. In that quiet, the lore of Mega Evolution solidified. It was the meeting point of emotion and energy, the fusion of human hope and Pokémon instinct. Hoenn's retelling of this story transformed Mega Evolution from a mechanic into mythology. It wasn't just about strength or strategy, It was about legacy, memory, and the eternal rhythm between creation and ruin. Like the calm that follows a storm, the legend of Hoenn's megas left behind the feeling that some powers exist not to be conquered, but to be understood. A perfect balance between light and shadow, written across the sky. When Mega Evolution entered the competitive scene, it reshaped how trainers thought about battling forever. For the first time in the series, a single decision could alter the pace of an entire match. Because only one Pokémon per team could Mega Evolve, that choice became an identity, a declaration of what kind of trainer you were. Some used their Mega to define offense, others for defense, and a few for psychological warfare, saving their transformation for the perfect moment. This simple restriction created one of the most dynamic and memorable eras in competitive Pokémon history. Early in the X and Y metagame, certain Mega Evolutions quickly stood out as titans. Mega Kangaskhan, with its infamous parental bond ability, was perhaps the most feared. The concept was simple but devastating. Every move struck twice, with the second hit at half power but still carrying secondary effects. This meant that even subtle moves, like Power-Up Punch, could turn into spiraling boosts of strength. What made it especially dangerous was its versatility. It could support, sweep, or break walls depending on the situation. Many players compared it to an unstoppable engine of pressure, and within months, it was banned from standard play. Yet, in official tournaments like the 2014 and 2015 VGC seasons, it became a symbol of precision, rewarding, calm, and predictive play. Mega Gengar occupied a different kind of dominance. Its Shadow Tag ability trapped opponents in place, preventing switches and forcing bad matchups. With its unmatched speed and immense special attack, it could dismantle entire teams before they could react. However, unlike Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Gengar demanded finesse. Its defenses were fragile, meaning that its power came from strategy, not brute force. Trainers who mastered it described the feeling as controlling gravity itself, dictating when opponents could move and when they could not. Mega Salamence and Mega Metagross rose during the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire metagame, bringing with them Hoenn's mythic energy. Salamence's Aerolate ability turned normal-type moves into flying-type ones and increased their power, giving its return attack the force of a hurricane. Combined with its excellent bulk and speed, it became one of the most terrifying sweepers in competitive memory. Metagross, on the other hand, dominated through raw presence. Its massive attack stat, new speed boost, and coverage options made it both elegant and unyielding. When Steven Stone used it in the games, it was a champion's weapon. In the hands of competitive players, it became a scalpel made of steel. While some megas rose to godlike power, others were carefully balanced. Mega Venusaur, with its thick fat ability, resisted both fire and ice, traditionally its greatest weaknesses. This made it a defensive cornerstone in many formats, capable of outlasting even legendary Pokémon through slow, methodical play. Its Mega Evolution represented patience, a test of endurance in a world obsessed with offense. Mega Mawile told the opposite story. It was fragile, yet its huge power ability doubled its already high attack, making every move a potential knockout. This combination of frailty and ferocity made it one of the most thrilling Pokémon to use, because every turn was a gamble between brilliance and disaster. Mega Charizard became a metagame legend by splitting its identity in two. Mega Charizard X was a physical, dragon-type powerhouse, capable of sweeping through teams once it set up a single dragon dance. Its typing change gave it resistance to fairy and electric moves, making it unpredictable in matches. Mega Charizard Y, meanwhile, embodied special attack mastery, Its drought ability summoned intense sunlight, amplifying its fire-type attacks and supporting Solar Beam in one turn. Trainers would often hide which form they had until the moment of evolution, turning every first move into a coin toss that could define the battle's flow. The unpredictability of Mega Evolution made every encounter a puzzle. Even Pokémon with shared species names could play entirely different roles depending on which Mega they were paired with. Mega Gyarados, for example, shed its flying type for Dark, becoming a monstrous physical wall breaker that thrived on setting up dragon dances. Its Water-Dark combination, combined with Mold Breaker, let it crush Pokémon that normally resisted it. Meanwhile, Mega Lopunny transformed from a cheerful normal type into a lightning-fast martial artist. Its new ability, Scrappy, allowed its normal and fighting-type moves to hit ghost types, giving it a role as an unexpected counter to traditionally untouchable opponents. The community began to refer to the Mega Era as the Golden Age of Variety. Each team felt unique, every match distinct. Players no longer asked who had the stronger Pokémon, they asked who made the smarter choice of when to Mega Evolve. The transformation could shift entire dynamics mid-battle, forcing even experienced opponents to adapt on instinct. Tournaments were filled with highlight moments, a Mega Lucario surviving with a sliver of health to deliver a knockout, or a Mega Gardevoir turning a lost game into victory with a perfectly timed hyper voice. The doubles and VGC scenes told another story entirely. Here, coordination was key, and Megas like Gardevoir, Metagross, and Kangaskhan thrived. Mega Salamence was nearly unbeatable in VGC, combining flight, coverage, and defense to dominate entire teams. Yet even here, the rules of restraint defined the experience. Trainers could only bring one Mega per team, so the format evolved around predicting not just moves, but which partner would transform. This gave rise to entire archetypes like Mega and Support Core teams, where every strategy revolved around empowering that one chosen Pokémon to shine. Beyond the numbers and stats, the competitive culture of the Mega Era reflected something more human, the bond that the mechanic itself was built upon. Many players spoke about their Mega Pokémon as if they were extensions of their own instincts. Transforming mid-battle wasn't just a tactical decision, it was emotional. When a trainer activated their keystone, it symbolized trust that both sides were ready to give everything. The animation even emphasized this connection, the trainer's hand rising, light bursting forth, and the Pokémon crying out in acknowledgement. It turned an ordinary game mechanic into a moment of ritual. Even years later, when newer systems like Z-Moves and Dynamax replaced it, many fans continued to call Mega Evolution the most satisfying battle mechanic ever introduced. It felt permanent yet fleeting, powerful yet grounded. It rewarded understanding rather than randomness. Every Mega form had personality, strengths, and flaws, all exaggerated to the edge of perfection. That tension made battles feel alive. In retrospect, the Mega Era became a golden chapter in competitive history, an age where creativity flourished, and balance was a constant dance rather than a fixed equation. Whether through the brutal precision of Mega Kangaskhan, the timeless elegance of Mega Gardevoir, or the divine dominance of Mega Rayquaza, each match was a small story of trust, timing, and transformation. And perhaps that's what made Mega Evolution so beloved. It was never just about who was strongest. It was about what happened when you and your Pokémon believed in each other enough to transcend limits, even for a moment. That brief flash of light, the burst of energy, and the silence after, it all captured something rare in competitive play: emotion. Behind every Mega Evolution was an artistic philosophy that stretched far beyond power levels or statistics. When Game Freak's design team began conceptualizing the mechanic, their first rule was simple: a mega form must represent the essence of a Pokémon amplified to its absolute extreme. Each transformation would tell a story, not just of evolution, but of identity. If standard evolutions were natural progressions of growth, mega evolutions were emotional outbursts frozen in physical form. The artist described it as turning up the volume on a Pokemon's personality until it overflowed. Lucario was one of the first to set this tone. Its mega form wasn't about changing its type or silhouette dramatically. It was about deepening its aura. The longer hair-like spikes on its arms symbolized its control over aura waves, almost like spiritual antennae. Its red eyes burned brighter, meant to show the intensity of its focus and loyalty. Game Freak's designers said they wanted Lucario to feel ascended through discipline, a Pokémon that achieved perfection not through rage, but meditation. Mega Gengar told the opposite story: chaos given form. Its designers leaned into the idea of the ghost slipping between dimensions. When it sinks halfway into the ground, it's not standing in shadow, it's standing in another world. Its massive grin, stretched wider than should be possible, was meant to make players uncomfortable but also amused. The color palette shift, from dull purple to a colder lavender with hints of red, was intentionally spectral, like a creature that exists only under certain wavelengths of light. Mega Scizor embodied an evolution of purpose. Its pincers, sharper and heavier, were drawn to look like living blades forged in a forge of battle. The red coating that once appeared organic now looked metallic, suggesting its steel typing was becoming absolute. Early sketches showed Scizor with glowing joints and overheating limbs, a detail that made it into later Pokédex entries, where it was said that its body would overheat if it moved too fast. This was one of the few mega designs that incorporated physical strain into its look, showing that even strength had limits. Then there were designs that leaned into whimsy. Mega Slowbro is a perfect example of how Game Freak used humor to make evolution feel alive. The shelter that normally bit its tail had now enveloped its entire body, creating a goofy, spinning creature that looked simultaneously silly and unstoppable. The lead designer admitted that the idea came from a simple doodle. The design showed the fusion of two life forms becoming permanent, turning an ordinary symbiosis into a living suit of armor. Mega Ampharos became a fan favorite because it broke expectations entirely. Instead of looking more mechanical or electric, it grew long, flowing hair and gained the dragon typing. The developers intentionally designed it to look majestic and serene, drawing inspiration from Eastern mythological creatures like the Kirin. It was both powerful and gentle, electricity turned into elegance. Fans affectionately nicknamed it Fabfaros, celebrating the idea that beauty could also be strength. Mega Mawile showed another artistic philosophy: recontextualization. The normal Mawile was mischievous, a small fairy with jaws on the back of its head. The Mega form took that concept and made it monstrous. Now 2 gaping maws hung behind it, each representing deceit and temptation. Its Pokédex entry even referenced it opening both jaws to terrify prey. A design rooted in the folklore creature Futakuchi Onna, the woman cursed with a second mouth hidden beneath her hair. Game Freak's artists confirmed that connection in interviews, saying that Mawile's mega design was their way of honoring the myth's duality of beauty and horror. Mega Metacham leaned into spiritual minimalism. Instead of looking aggressive, it appeared tranquil, surrounded by orbs of psychic energy suspended in air. Its beads and ribbons were based on Indian ascetic attire, designed to show enlightenment rather than power. The aura around it pulsed gently, meant to feel rhythmic and meditative, a small, calm storm of psychic focus. It represented the peak of discipline, the same way Mega Lucario represented mastery of aura. Then there were Megas that exaggerated physical traits to humorous extremes. Mega Heracross gained an enormous horn shaped like a drill bit, reflecting its role as the ultimate grappler. Mega Alakazam's design added more spoons than necessary, implying a kind of mental overflow. It could now wield 5 telekinetic utensils at once. This was meant as both visual humor and a metaphor. The more it evolved, the less human logic could comprehend it. The beard it grew in mega form was inspired by depictions of wise mystics, symbolizing its mental age surpassing mortal limits. In contrast, Mega Altaria embraced softness and serenity. Its design made it appear enveloped in clouds, a living embodiment of comfort. The shift to Dragon Fairy typing symbolized balance, power that heals rather than destroys. The team's notes describe Altaria as a dream come to life, a Pokémon that embodies the peaceful imagination of flight. Its cotton-like wings were designed to reflect moonlit skies rather than sunlight, explaining the faint glow that surrounds it in battle animations. Mega Gyarados was one of the darkest reinterpretations of a familiar face. The developers described it as rage made visible. Its mega form, changing from water flying to water dark, was the embodiment of wrath and vengeance. The armor-like scales that covered its face represented its internal fury, finally hardening into form. Early drafts showed it with 3 tails and red glowing veins, emphasizing the transformation's violent nature. Its Pokédex entries even reference that it loses control in this state, a rare admission that Mega Evolution can overwhelm rather than empower. This theme of power at a cost became central to the artistic tone of Mega Evolution. Many Pokémon looked majestic or transcendent, but others showed strain. Mega Pinsir's wings tore from its back like an insect forced beyond nature's limits. Mega Banette's zippers burst open, suggesting that the pain keeping it together finally erupted. The zipper motif wasn't random, it symbolized emotional containment, the idea that anger and sorrow could only be suppressed for so long before they manifested physically. These subtle metaphors made even creepy designs feel poetic. Mega Evolution also allowed artists to revisit old ideas they once left behind. Mega Pidgeot finally fulfilled the fantasy of a truly regal bird Pokémon. Its sweeping crest and blazing eyes were drawn from falconry imagery and the golden eagles of ancient heraldry. Mega Beedrill, with its needle limbs and aerodynamic shape, was inspired by modern fighter jets. Every megaform served as both nostalgia and reinvention, a chance to look at something familiar through the lens of maturity and imagination. Even color palettes carried meaning. Cooler tones were used for Pokémon that reached balance or peace, while saturated reds and purples were reserved for those consumed by passion or instability. Lucario's warm hues represented control under fire, while Gyarados' deep navy showed descent into darkness. The Megastones themselves glowed with the same color as the Pokémon's eyes when transforming, a tiny visual reminder that this power came from within. Each megaform wasn't just an upgrade, it was an interpretation. Artists treated them like alternate realities, glimpses of what each Pokémon could become if pushed by emotion rather than evolution. Some expressed love, some obsession, others serenity or rage. Together, they painted a complete portrait of Pokémon's emotional range, proving that even in a game about battles, art and soul always mattered. Every story surrounding Mega Evolution, no matter where it was told, always came back to one simple truth: emotion has power. The Kalos scientists who studied this phenomenon, called it infinity energy, a mysterious life force said to flow through all living things. But unlike ordinary biological energy, infinity energy reacted to emotions. When a trainer's will aligned perfectly with their Pokemon's spirit, that energy flared, bending reality for a heartbeat. The result was Mega Evolution, a brief, luminous merging of two souls into one form. According to Kalos legend, the first Mega Evolution occurred thousands of years ago, during the same era when the Great War ravaged the region. It was said that a Pokemon, desperate to protect its partner, unleashed strength beyond comprehension. The explosion of energy that followed became the blueprint for what trainers now replicate with Mega Stones. The Mega Ring, introduced generations later, acted not as a trigger, but as a key. It merely allowed the resonance between human and Pokemon to manifest safely. The transformation itself still relied entirely on trust and empathy, an invisible bridge built from mutual understanding. This link between emotion and energy fascinated the scientists of Kalos. Professor Sycamore described it as the heartbeat of life magnified. When a Pokemon Mega evolves, its body temporarily channels more power than nature ever intended, reshaping bone, muscle, and even aura in seconds. That level of transformation should be impossible, yet it occurs flawlessly when both trainer and Pokemon wish for it together. To Sycamore, that was proof that Mega Evolution wasn't science alone, it was proof of love as a biological force. In the remakes of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the lore grew deeper still. There, infinity energy was linked to the planet itself. Ancient Hoenn civilizations, long before Pokeballs or modern cities, had discovered traces of this radiant force beneath their lands. They worshipped it as divine breath, the same pulse that caused rain to fall, volcanoes to erupt, and winds to stir. The Draconid people, guardians of Rayquaza's legend, called it the energy of promise, believing it to be the heartbeat of the world's memory. They taught that Mega Evolution wasn't something humans created, it was something rediscovered, a forgotten language spoken between hearts. Even in modern lore, traces of that belief lingered. The shape of the keystone was modeled after the infinity symbol, representing eternal connection. When a trainer holds it and their Pokemon responds, both stones glow with identical light patterns, one representing human consciousness, the other Pokemon instinct. For a moment, they sync perfectly. Scientists later noted that this resonance produces the same wavelength as the light emitted by the ultimate weapon when it fired 3,000 years earlier. That eerie connection tied every act of Mega Evolution to the scars of history, as if every transformation whispered a reminder of what happens when power and love collide. The emotional side of Mega Evolution also carried hints of danger. Some Pokédex entries, particularly from later games, described Mega forms as unstable or painful. Mega Garchomp's body, for instance, overheated from the uncontrollable energy surging through it. Mega Glalie jaw split open, unable to contain the frozen power within. Even Mega Audino, one of the gentlest transformations, displayed signs of exhaustion after reverting. These small details revealed a hidden truth. Mega Evolution was not sustainable. It was a spark, not a flame. The body could only endure it for short bursts before reverting to its natural form. This impermanence made it feel sacred, a phenomenon that could only exist when both trainer and Pokemon were perfectly in tune. Despite its risks, the act of Mega Evolution was always portrayed as beautiful. In the anime, the moment was treated with reverence. When Karina's Lucario first Mega evolved, its aura flared so violently that it lost control, overwhelmed by emotion. It took several episodes of meditation and shared training for Lucario to balance its power with calmness. Only then could it transform without chaos. That story echoed the spiritual foundation of mega evolution. Strength without discipline becomes destruction, but strength born from empathy becomes harmony. Infinity Energy's discovery also reshaped how the Pokemon world understood its own history. In the Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire Delta episode, it was revealed that the same energy powering Megastones might have been drawn from the souls of Pokemon themselves, the essence that filled the ultimate weapon during the Ancient War. This revelation changed how characters like Stephen Stone viewed the mechanic. Was Mega Evolution a miracle or a byproduct of tragedy? That ambiguity made it one of the most morally complex systems ever introduced into the Pokemon canon. Some fans theorized that Infinity Energy is the same fundamental force behind all forms of extraordinary transformation, from evolution to Z moves to Dynamaxing. If true, that would mean every expression of Pokemon growth is connected through a universal life pulse, merely shaped by environment and emotion. This theory gained quiet support in Pokemon Sun and Moon, where NPC dialogue hinted that Z-Power crystals were formed under the same energetic principles as Megastones. Whether coincidence or design, it painted a poetic picture of continuity, that the same cosmic force that once destroyed civilizations now fuels the bond between trainer and Pokemon. Even the visual presentation of Mega Evolution was designed to represent emotional energy turning tangible. The rings of light that spiral around the Pokemon's body are made of fractal shapes resembling energy waves, each ring pulsing with the rhythm of a heartbeat. The initial flash of white, followed by color, symbolizes the merging of consciousness, the moment when trainer and Pokemon become indistinguishable. The brief distortion effect before the transformation completes was intentionally rendered to mimic a breath, a visual sigh of release. There's also symbolism in how temporary Mega Evolution is. Unlike normal evolution, which is permanent, Mega Evolution fades when battle ends. Thematically, this mirrors the fleeting nature of emotional connection. No matter how strong a bond is, it must be renewed through trust each time. The transformation only lasts as long as the feeling does. It's an idea quietly embedded in the gameplay itself. Mega Evolution can't happen without your command. It's not just a mechanic. It's a dialogue, a whispered, "I'm ready if you are," between trainer and Pokemon. In a broader sense, Infinity Energy and Mega Evolution together became Pokemon's meditation on power and empathy. Science could measure wavelengths, quantify force, and map biological changes, but it couldn't explain why it only worked between those who trusted each other. That small mystery, that power only answers to kindness, became the heart of the concept. Even in a universe filled with gods, legendaries, and machines, Mega Evolution remained deeply human, and perhaps that's what made it timeless. It wasn't just an upgrade or a boost, it was a love letter to connection itself. The flicker of light between trainer and Pokemon, the resonance that bridges species and language, the moment where emotion reshapes reality, that's what Mega Evolution truly represented. It was proof that bonds can defy biology, that empathy has energy, and that even in a world built on battles, the strongest force of all is care. When Mega Evolution stepped into the anime, it became something more than a battle mechanic. It became emotion visualized. The Pokemon XY series treated Mega Evolution with reverence, transforming each appearance into a small event, a flicker of light that felt both personal and divine. The concept wasn't introduced as something that everyone could achieve, but as a mysterious power attainable only through deep bonds, training, and purpose. The show's direction was deliberate. It wanted to make Mega Evolution feel rare, earned, and almost spiritual. One of the first major depictions came through Karina, the Shalor City gym leader, and her Lucario. Their relationship became the emotional cornerstone of the XY series' early episodes. At first, Lucario's mega evolution overwhelmed it with emotion, a torrent of aura energy so strong that it lashed out uncontrollably. The transformation magnified not just its power, but its feelings, blurring the line between instinct and rage. Over time, Karina learned to meditate with her Lucario, strengthening their connection beyond commands. By the time they battled Ash, Lucario had achieved a perfect balance. Not a stronger Pokémon, but a calmer one. That evolution of trust became one of the defining lessons of the series, that control without compassion is meaningless. This portrayal of Lucario echoed the themes of the games, but deepened them through animation. Each time it mega evolved, the sound design subtly changed, the aura pulses grew steadier, and its breathing slowed, showing mastery through stillness. Lucario's red aura waves, originally chaotic, began to flow like ripples instead of bursts. These small artistic touches reflected the broader philosophy behind mega evolution. Emotion must be harmonized, not suppressed. Then came Elaine and his Mega Charizard X, whose story took that same power and twisted it into obsession. Introduced in the Mega Evolution special episodes, Elaine was a trainer who sought strength for its own sake. His Charizard, though loyal, mirrored his ambition. Its flames burned darker, and its eyes carried intensity rather than warmth. Together, they defeated countless mega-evolved Pokémon across regions, including Mega Absol, Mega Gardevoir, and even Mega Tyranitar. Each victory pushed Elaine further into isolation. The irony of his journey was that the deeper his bond with Charizard should have grown, the more distant he became from the world around him. The Mega Evolution specials used color and pacing to mirror this moral erosion. Battles involving Elaine's Charizard X were always filmed with colder tones, deep blues, muted reds, to emphasize its flame as something artificial rather than nurturing. In contrast, when other trainers mega evolved their Pokémon, the glow of transformation was golden, warm, and breathing with life. These visual contrasts were subtle but powerful. They told viewers that mega evolution was not inherently good or evil. It simply revealed what was already within the heart of the one commanding it. Throughout the specials, Elaine's quest led him to Lysandre, the charismatic yet dangerous leader of Team Flare. Lysandra believed that infinity energy and mega evolution were proof that humans had surpassed natural limits and therefore should control the world's future. Elaine, manipulated by this ideology, fought mega after mega to collect data for Lysandra's ambitions. What made this arc memorable wasn't just the action, it was the emotion behind it. Elaine wasn't a villain. He was a reflection of what happens when passion for strength replaces empathy. When his Charizard X burned brighter than ever, it wasn't triumph, it was warning. The emotional resolution came during the XYZ series, when Elaine realized the cost of his choices. After witnessing the destruction caused by Team Flare's misuse of mega energy, he broke down, understanding that his pursuit of power had blinded him. In one of the series' quietest scenes, he placed his keystone down beside his Charizard's Pokeball and whispered an apology. Charizard turned away, not in anger, but in exhaustion, the kind of sorrow that only comes from shared guilt. When they finally battled together again, their mega evolution was gentle, controlled, and radiant. The flames of obsession had cooled into the warmth of forgiveness. Meanwhile, Ash's relationship with mega evolution evolved differently. For much of the XY series, Ash didn't use a mega form himself. Instead, He developed bond phenomenon with Greninja, a transformation so similar to Mega Evolution that even characters within the story noted the resemblance. This connection blurred the line between trainer and Pokémon, fusing their consciousness into a single rhythm. When Ash Greninja appeared, its movements synchronized with Ash's heartbeat, and their pain was shared. The visual difference between Mega Evolution and Bond Phenomenon, blue water streams instead of light rings, symbolized that while Mega Evolution came from external energy, Bond Phenomenon came from empathy alone. It was Pokemon's way of saying that true evolution didn't need stones or weapons, just understanding. The anime also explored Mega Evolution through side stories and smaller arcs. In Mega Evolution Special 3, Steven Stone's Mega Metagross faced off against Elaine's Charizard in one of the most visually stunning battles of the generation. Each punch of the Steel Titan sent shockwaves across the battlefield, its limbs moving with mechanical precision. Steven's calm demeanor contrasted Elaine's intensity, and when both Pokémon deactivated their Mega forms at the same time, the silence that followed felt like mutual respect. The episode ended not with victory or loss, but reflection. Two trainers acknowledging that strength means nothing without meaning. Even less prominent characters received deeply emotional portrayals through Mega Evolution. A young boy and his Ampharos, in one episode, learned to overcome fear together, with Ampharos's light serving as a symbol of courage. Another story followed a trainer whose Gardevoir protected her from harm, Mega evolving out of sheer love rather than command. These smaller moments reminded viewers that Mega Evolution wasn't just a spectacle, it was a shared language between hearts. Cinematically, the Pokémon films used Mega Evolution as both a visual spectacle and philosophical motif. In Deontay and the Cocoon of Destruction, Mega Deontay's transformation represented maturity, a young ruler accepting her role as protector. In Genesect and the Legend Awakened, Mega Mewtwo Y embodied transcendence, not revenge. The film framed Mega Evolution as enlightenment, the ability to rise above past pain through self-understanding. Even in Hoopa and the Clash of Ages, where Mega forms appeared in chaotic abundance, the central theme remained consistent. Power without purpose only leads to loss. The recurring thread across every adaptation, from Karina's humble training to Elaine's tragedy, was that Mega Evolution acted as a mirror. It didn't change who you were, it showed you who you already were, magnified. For the kind-hearted, it became grace. For the vengeful, it became ruin. That duality made it one of the most nuanced concepts in Pokémon storytelling, a simple mechanic elevated to myth. By the time the anime moved past Mega Evolution into Z-moves and Dynamax, it carried the lessons of those glowing transformations quietly forward. The idea that emotional harmony could rewrite limits never left the series. It lived on in every handshake, every shared breath before battle, every quiet moment between trainer and Pokémon. Mega Evolution had come and gone as a generation's symbol, but its heart, the bond that makes miracles possible, remained eternal. Long after the Mega Evolution era officially ended, its echo still lingered through the Pokémon world, not just in lore, but in the hearts of players. Even after new generations introduced Z-moves, Dynamax, Gigantamax, and Terastallization, none carried quite the same aura of emotional intimacy. Mega Evolution had been more than a battle gimmick. It was a dialogue between trainer and Pokémon, and fans felt that connection deeply. In online communities, the mechanic became a symbol of nostalgia, something that represented the peak of creativity and storytelling synergy between game design and emotion. Game Freak never officially abandoned the concept, it simply moved beyond it. Yet, Mega Evolution continued to appear across media, quietly reminding players of what it once stood for. In Pokémon Masters EX, Mega Forms became central to the game's identity, allowing classic characters like Steven, Cynthia, and Karina to battle alongside their signature Megas. Each time a trainer activated the transformation, the screen filled with that familiar prismatic glow and chime, a sound that many players described as comforting. It wasn't about winning, it was about feeling that same pulse of connection again, the reminder of trust crystallized into power. Even in Pokemon Go, Mega Evolution returned as a living system. Its design there evolved from temporary boosts to a bonding-based mechanic where trainers could build friendship with their Pokemon to reduce the energy cost of transformation. It was a modern reinterpretation of the original idea. Instead of relying solely on stones or external triggers, the mechanic rewarded consistency and care. Pokemon that Mega evolved repeatedly became faster to awaken, symbolizing familiarity over time. That quiet progression turned an old mechanic into something that felt natural, almost alive. Among fans, Mega Evolution became a language of emotion. Artists across social media reimagined entire generations of Pokemon in potential Mega forms that never existed. Mega Flygon, Mega Melodic, Mega Luxray, each a blend of longing and creativity. The reason was simple. Mega Evolution gave form to feeling. It visualized the emotional bond players had always imagined their Pokemon shared with them. When people drew new Mega designs, they weren't just inventing power fantasies, they were expressing love. In discussions, players often pointed out that Mega Evolution carried a kind of narrative weight missing from later mechanics. It wasn't universal, it didn't apply to every Pokemon, and that limitation gave it meaning. A Pokemon had to earn its Mega form through story or legacy. Lucario through Aura Mastery, Gardevoir through devotion, and Charizard through symbolism. Dynamax and Terastallization, while visually stunning, were systems available to all. Mega Evolution felt selective, personal, and spiritual. That sense of rarity gave it a mythic quality that time hasn't erased. The Pokemon Sword and Shield era referenced Mega Evolution subtly through dialogue, noting that Galarian scientists had theories about similar forms of energy, but no one fully understood their connection. That phrasing, similar forms, was intentional. It hinted that the same life force, the same infinity energy that once fueled Mega Evolution, was still active in different forms. The way Dynamaxing drew on the Galar region's ley lines of power was an evolution of the same principle. Energy responding to human emotion. Terastallization, too, carried traces of this philosophy. The sparkling crystal forms in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet resembled Mega energy visually, their glowing colors and geometric prisms reminiscent of the light rings that once surrounded Mega forms. Even the idea that Pokemon reveal a hidden type, their inner essence, feels like a soft continuation of the Mega theme. Identity magnified by bond. From a creative perspective, Game Freak's developers later reflected on Mega Evolution as both a triumph and a challenge. In interviews, designers like Shigeru Omori described the mechanic as emotionally perfect but structurally difficult. It added layers of complexity to balance and limited future design space for traditional evolutions. Yet, he admitted that it also inspired some of their proudest designs. Pokemon that had been forgotten suddenly became iconic again. Ampharos, Beedrill, Altaria, and even Audino found new life. Players began to see old favorites in new ways, proving that emotional investment can revive nostalgia better than novelty ever could. Fan events and online discussions kept Mega Evolution alive long after its last in-game appearance. Players hosted Mega Cup tournaments in unofficial formats, building teams around the rules of the 6th generation. Streamers revisited Pokemon X, Y, and Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, just to relive the moment of hearing that transformation sound one more time. Comments beneath these videos often shared the same sentiment. It still gives me chills. In Japan, merchandise celebrating Mega Evolution continued for years after its discontinuation. The Pokemon Center stores released anniversary figures of Lucario, Gardevoir, and Charizard in their mega forms, each sculpted mid-transformation, their stones glowing under display lights. The tagline printed on the boxes read, "Bond becomes light." Even as new mechanics dominated headlines, the Pokemon Company never fully closed the door on Mega Evolution. It remained a quiet monument to an era defined by feeling. In the anime, occasional nods still appeared. Steven Stone continued to use his Mega Metagross in Journeys, while Karina and her Lucario made a return, now guiding Ash's own Lucario through its Mega Evolution. That moment, when Ash and Lucario achieved it together, felt like the culmination of everything the concept had built toward. It wasn't a flashy reveal, it was intimate. Their eyes met, the keystone pulsed, and Lucario's aura shimmered. The transformation glowed not with spectacle, but serenity, the warmth of friendship, the silence of mutual understanding. Even in modern times, discussions about the future of Mega Evolution never fade. Fans still speculate about its return, hoping to see it reborn in future generations with updated systems and more balanced designs. Some imagine a version tied to long-term relationships, where mega forms evolve naturally over time instead of temporarily. Others dream of a universal mechanic that unites all special transformations, Mega, Z-Move, Dynamax, and Terrastal, into one shared mythology about emotion and power. The concept may sleep, but it has never died. What made Mega Evolution truly timeless was its humanity. It wasn't about strength, it was about expression. It allowed Pokemon to manifest their truest selves for a moment, reflecting the heart of their trainers. The transformation's glow, the hum of its energy, the fleeting nature of its power, it all felt poetic. Even as generations pass and new mechanics rise, Mega Evolution endures as a memory of connection made visible. It taught players that evolution is not just about growth, it's about empathy. That strength is not dominance, but harmony, and that sometimes the brightest light shines only for a second, yet stays with you forever. When the light of Mega Evolution fades, and the world returns to its quiet rhythm, something lingers in that silence, not power, but presence. The glow that once surrounded the Pokemon dissolves, yet the bond that sparked it remains, faint but eternal. Every transformation, every resonance, every flicker of infinity energy leaves behind a trace of emotion, too small to see, but too real to forget. That is what makes Mega Evolution different from every other form of change in the Pokemon world. It is powered not by nature, nor by technology, but by feeling. In the calm that follows a battle, trainers often describe an afterglow, a kind of warmth that hums through the air where their Pokemon once stood enveloped in light. It's not fatigue, nor energy residue, it's connection. The same bond that once turned thought into force lingers quietly between them. That lingering hum is the essence of what Mega Evolution represents. It's the heartbeat of trust, invisible, unbreakable, and impossibly gentle. Even in the lore, Mega Evolution is often spoken of in whispers rather than declarations. Scientists admit that they still don't fully understand it. Legends say it existed long before humans named it. Mystics believe it is the purest form of communication, not words, not commands, but feeling shared as light. Across every interpretation, one truth remains constant. Mega Evolution is not about what you can make your Pokemon do, but what you can understand together. The emotional paradox of mega evolution is that it's both fleeting and eternal. The form lasts only moments, yet its impact endures for lifetimes. It captures the fragile beauty of connection, that something doesn't need to last forever to mean everything. The light may fade, but the memory of that harmony remains in every shared glance, every moment of calm understanding. The more players looked at the idea, the clearer its symbolism became. Mega evolution is life itself, the brief intensification of existence before it settles back into the quiet flow of time. It's joy and pain, effort and release, energy and calm. It's the bond that says, I know you and you know me, turned into motion. That's why the mechanic, more than any other in Pokemon history, resonated so deeply with players. It wasn't a function to be mastered, it was a feeling to be remembered. In the world of Pokemon, even the most cosmic energies, Infinity Energy, Z-Power, Dynamax Light, are all metaphors for the same truth. Connection transforms everything. The stones and rings, the light and sound, the trembling moment of transformation, all of it serves a single idea. Strength, in its purest form, is empathy, the ability to understand another living being so completely that your hearts beat in rhythm and your energy fuses into one. It's easy to think of Mega Evolution as a lost era, a beautiful relic of the past, but every time someone opens an old save file, revisits Kalos or Hoenn, or watches the prismatic glow return to the battlefield, that era lives again. The music swells, the light flares, and for a heartbeat, the connection reawakens. No matter how many generations pass, no matter how many mechanics replace it, Mega Evolution's meaning will always endure. Because the power of emotion, the will to connect, is something that no timeline, no region, and no technology can ever erase. In the end, Mega Evolution is a story of trust. It is the reminder that growth doesn't always mean changing who you are. Sometimes it means becoming more of yourself than you've ever been. When that light fades, the Pokemon returns, not weaker, but freer, its bond with its trainer deepened in silence. The mechanic disappears, but the meaning stays. It is a quiet miracle, a promise between hearts that will always, in some way, glow beneath the surface of every Pokemon story. So tonight, as we drift into calm and the echoes of those transformations fade into the soft hum of memory, think of that light, the shimmer of trust, the pulse of emotion, the warmth of connection that transcends form. Mega Evolution was never about perfection. It was about the beauty of a shared moment, brief but infinite. And even now, somewhere beyond the clouds, beyond the echoes of battle cries and the ring of keystones, that light still flickers, not gone, only resting. From the moment Mega Evolution was introduced, it raised one quiet question. What exactly happens to the Pokemon's body during the transformation? Scientists in Kalos described it as a temporary reconfiguration of biological structure triggered by Infinity Energy. But the phenomenon was far stranger than anything measurable. When the glow subsides and the Pokemon stands transformed, its aura, heartbeat, and even DNA signature register differently for those few moments. Yet when it reverts, no trace of change remains, as if the form existed only between breaths. To researchers like Professor Sycamore, this hinted that Mega Evolution was not simply physical mutation, but a metaphysical state, a reality made solid through emotion. The Pokédex quietly supported this idea. Many megaforms exhibit unnatural properties, muscles that exceed known biological limits, psychic waves that distort air, or heat signatures that defy thermodynamics. Mega Blaziken burns hotter than molten steel but never scorches its trainer. Mega Alakazam's brain capacity triples, allowing it to perceive outcomes seconds before they occur, yet it remains calm and detached. These impossible traits suggest that infinity energy bypasses biology entirely, rewriting natural law through emotion rather than science. The transformation doesn't change what a Pokemon is, it changes what it believes it can be. And for a heartbeat, the universe agrees. The color of the megalite itself carries meaning. The swirling prism that surrounds the transformation isn't random. Its hues correspond to the emotional wavelength of the trainer's aura. That's why Karina's Mega Lucario glowed deep crimson, representing passion and discipline, while other trainers' lights lean toward gold or blue, signifying harmony or wisdom. Each glow is unique, a fingerprint of empathy made visible. Some fans even noticed that when Ash's Lucario Mega evolved in later seasons, its light pulsed in the same rhythm as Greninja's Bond Phenomenon transformation, subtly implying that these two forces are born of the same emotion, just expressed differently. The presence of infinity energy within living beings also connected Mega Evolution to the larger cycle of life in the Pokemon world. In ancient texts from Hoenn's Sky Pillar, translations refer to the radiant breath, an invisible stream of life energy that flows through the planet's veins, awakening growth and evolution alike. The Draconid people believed that every living being is bound to this current, and that Mega Evolution is what happens when two souls harmonize strongly enough to momentarily amplify that current. They viewed the glow of Mega Evolution as the breath of the stars, a phrase still carved into temple walls. Even in the main series, small details reinforce the sacred tone. The Keystone's pattern is modeled after the spiral of galaxies, suggesting cosmic connection. The stone's glow mirrors Rayquaza's scales in its mega form, linking the mechanic to celestial origins. And in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Zinnia's monologue about the ancient wish made real hints that Mega Evolution might predate humanity entirely, a natural phenomenon of empathy that Pokemon themselves once initiated. The more the phenomenon was studied, the more contradictions appeared. In some cases, Mega Evolutions seem to enhance a Pokemon's personality. Mega Gardevoir becomes serene and protective, Mega Blaziken more determined, but in others, it twisted emotion into aggression. Mega Gyarados' rage consumes it, Mega Lucario's aura overheats, and Mega Banette's pain becomes uncontrollable. These inconsistencies fascinated both scientists and philosophers. One theory suggested that the energy of Mega Evolution doesn't change a Pokemon's nature, it amplifies whatever emotion lies closest to the heart. Peace becomes grace, anger becomes destruction, love becomes power. The transformation simply mirrors the truth of one's spirit. That duality is what makes Mega Evolution one of the most poetic ideas in Pokemon. It's both gift and curse, a mirror that can reflect beauty or pain. When Karina's Lucario lost control during its first Mega Evolution, it wasn't because it lacked strength, it was because the power had revealed its inner turmoil. Only when she and Lucario meditated together, learning to understand each other's emotions, could they transform without chaos. The anime captured this balance perfectly, turning the act of Mega Evolution from spectacle into self-reflection. Even the physical stones themselves carry symbolic stories. Each Mega Stone is said to contain a small fragment of the meteor that nearly struck the planet in Hoenn's past, the same cosmic event that awakened Rayquaza's primal power. That's why the stones are always warm to the touch, humming faintly as if alive. In the games, when the player's Pokemon Mega evolves, that stone resonates with the one embedded in the trainer's ring, forming a temporary circuit of energy. What scientists call resonance, the lore calls understanding. For that brief moment, trainer and Pokemon share one heartbeat, a synchronization so perfect that even the laws of time yield to it. Culturally, Mega Evolution reshaped how Pokemon societies viewed strength. In Kalos, where the phenomenon originated, Mega Evolution became a symbol of unity between human and Pokemon. Ancient murals in Shalor City depict figures standing beside glowing creatures, both framed in halos of light. In Hoenn, however, the phenomenon carried caution, reminders of Rayquaza's fury, of meteors and primal forces barely controlled. To the Draconid people, Mega Evolution was not mastery but mercy, the ability to soothe rather than conquer. These differences show how each region interpreted the same miracle through its own values. When modern technology began replicating the process, new ethical questions emerged. Some researchers worried that forcing Mega Evolution for competition detached it from its spiritual roots. If a bond of trust is replaced by mechanical activation, does the transformation still carry meaning? This tension appeared in the anime through trainers like Elaine, whose relentless use of Mega Charizard X reflected obsession rather than empathy. The narrative used his story to explore that very question. When strength is sought without understanding, it consumes instead of uplifts. The parallels to human emotion are unmistakable. Mega Evolution burns bright but short, an echo of passion, grief, or joy that flares and fades. The temporary nature of the form teaches impermanence. It reminds trainers that power is only meaningful when it returns to peace. In that way, Mega Evolution becomes a metaphor for all connection, intense, transformative, but never permanent. The developers themselves hinted at this meaning during interviews. They described the mechanic as a moment of perfect resonance, a brief instant where the boundaries between species dissolve. It's not evolution in the traditional sense, it's emotional synchronicity. That word, resonance, appears repeatedly in their design documents, describing not sound but spirit, the vibration of two hearts beating in rhythm, creating something new that can only exist while the feeling lasts. Even in subtle details, the designers preserved this theme. The animation for Mega Evolution begins with the trainer raising their hand, a universal gesture of offering, not control. The Pokemon's light responds voluntarily, blooming outward rather than being forced. When the transformation ends, both trainer and Pokemon lower their heads slightly, mirroring one another's breath. These gestures turn what could have been a mechanical sequence into a ritual of respect. Infinity Energy's link to the natural world adds another layer. The glow emitted during Mega Evolution temporarily alters nearby flora. Petals close, leaves shimmer, and even wild Pokemon pause, sensing the pulse of energy. It's a visual metaphor that nature itself recognizes the sincerity behind the act. To Mega Evolve isn't to dominate the environment, but to harmonize with it so completely that the world listens. The connection between infinity energy and natural balance even extends to the weather trio. In Hoenn's mythology, Rayquaza's control of atmospheric currents is powered by the same cosmic energy that allows it to Mega Evolve. Its form is the universe's way of balancing destruction with peace, proof that evolution, when guided by understanding, restores equilibrium rather than chaos. That concept forms the spiritual core of all Mega Evolution, harmony within intensity. Fans often speak of how even the smallest details during Mega Evolution can feel emotional. The flicker in a Pokemon's eyes, the faint pause before transformation, the way the music swells like a heartbeat. For players who first experienced it in Pokemon X and Y, those moments were unforgettable. It wasn't the increase in stats that mattered, but the symbolism of two beings transcending their limits together. That sense of closeness remains one of the most universally loved feelings in the entire franchise. Mega Evolution, at its core, is a celebration of connection under pressure, the proof that love can exist even in chaos. It's what turns strength into serenity and ambition into grace. Whether through stones, rings, or unspoken trust, every Mega Evolution across the games, anime, and lore carries the same message. When two hearts beat as one, even the laws of nature listen. Even though the official story of Mega Evolution faded from the spotlight, the concept still hums quietly through every modern Pokémon game, anime, and story. It lingers not in the mechanics or the stones, but in the themes that keep resurfacing: trust, harmony, and the idea that two hearts beating together can create something more beautiful than power alone. In that sense, Mega Evolution never ended. It simply changed shape, much like evolution itself. When players step into new regions, like Galar and Paldea, they still find traces of this philosophy. The phenomenon of Dynamax, for example, takes the scale of Mega Evolution and spreads it across the world, a reflection of shared energy that flows through all Pokémon rather than between one trainer and one partner. In contrast, terastallization in Pokémon Scarlet and Violet feels more introspective, a glow that reveals a Pokémon's truest essence rather than reshaping its body. Its crystalline light refracts emotion rather than amplifying it. Yet in both systems, the core message remains. Every living being carries potential that awakens only when trust is involved. That message is the heartbeat of Mega Evolution's legacy. The more fans and scholars look back, the more they realize how deliberately intertwined the idea of Mega Evolution is with the larger philosophy of the Pokémon world. From the very beginning, Pokémon has been a series about relationships, not just between trainer and Pokémon, but between humans and nature, past and present, self and change. Mega Evolution crystallized that philosophy into something visible. For a brief instant, the connection between living beings becomes literal light. Infinity energy, the same essence that fuels life and evolution itself, reacts not to control, but to care. The brighter the bond, the stronger the transformation. In academic lore within the Pokémon universe, some researchers believe infinity energy may be what Arceus used to shape existence itself, the same raw, emotional energy that creates evolution, dreams, and memory. If true, then Mega Evolution is not an anomaly, but a glimpse of that creative force in its purest form. It's a reminder that evolution is not just adaptation, but expression, the universe discovering what it loves most about itself. Even the smallest details of Mega Evolution's story reflect this cosmic intimacy. The warmth of the Mega Stones in a trainer's hand, the soft shimmer of the keystone before activation, the pulse of shared breath between human and Pokémon, every element of it feels alive. It transforms not through command, but through consent. When the two beings agree, when they both trust, the light ignites. That trust has no words, no interface. It's an ancient, wordless understanding, the kind that makes every trainer feel, if only for a moment, that they are truly not alone. The cultural impact of Mega Evolution extends far beyond gameplay. It changed the way fans perceive evolution itself. Before Megaforms existed, evolution was seen as linear, a step forward that replaced what came before. But Mega Evolution introduced impermanence and duality. It's said that progress doesn't always mean leaving your old self behind. Sometimes, the truest strength is returning to who you've always been, just more radiant. That message resonated deeply with players who grew up alongside Pokémon, who learned that growing older doesn't mean outgrowing connection, it means understanding it better. For Game Freak's artists and writers, Mega evolution also represented a moment of creative freedom. It allowed them to reinterpret familiar designs, exploring personality through exaggeration. Some megas, like Gardevoir or Altaria, became symbols of grace and protection, while others like Gyarados and Banette revealed hidden anguish. Each form was a confession, a glimpse of what lies beneath composure. Through art, sound, and animation, Mega Evolution let Pokémon express feelings beyond language. That emotional truth is what keeps the idea alive in fans' imaginations. Even today, people sketch new mega concepts, compose orchestral remixes of the transformation theme, and write stories about trainers who achieve the bond required for it. Mega Evolution endures not because of its mechanics, but because it made people feel. It turned power into poetry, the ultimate expression of care in a world built on companionship. The Mega Evolution energy seen in Kalos, Hoenn, and beyond also inspired countless theories about how all Pokémon transformations are connected. Infinity Energy, Z-Power, Dynamax Light, and terrestrial crystals all seem to be facets of the same cosmic current. Some researchers within the games even hint that this energy might be emotional consciousness made visible, the collective will of living beings resonating with the planet itself. That poetic explanation ties together generations of lore. The same light that once fueled the ultimate weapon now fuels compassion, tragedy turned into understanding, destruction reborn as empathy. Even Pokémon who have never mega evolved still seem to feel the echo of that light. In later games, when you visit Kalos's ancient ruins, the Mega Stones continue to pulse faintly in the dark, suggesting that the resonance never fully fades. Some trainers claim that when they touch an old keystone, they can hear faint whispers, not of words, but of feelings, a sense of warmth, recognition, or longing. Whether or not that's true, it captures the spirit of the idea beautifully. Mega evolution, like any emotion, may fade from sight, but it never truly disappears. For players who experienced it firsthand, Mega evolution represents something deeply personal. It was the moment they saw their favorite Pokémon, maybe one they journeyed with since childhood, reach its ultimate form, not because of an item, not because of a level, but because of trust. That memory, that split second of light and sound, becomes part of the player's story. It's nostalgia in motion, the feeling of connection that transcends time, glowing quietly in memory like a lantern. In the anime's later seasons, when Mega Evolution reappears briefly, it feels like greeting an old friend. The camera no longer dramatizes it with thunderous sound. Instead, the transformation is slower, quieter, suffused with warmth. The music softens, the colors bloom gently, and for a heartbeat, everything stands still. The world holds its breath as trainer and Pokémon become one. That silence, peaceful and infinite, is the sound of trust returning home. The legacy of Mega Evolution is that it taught players and storytellers alike that strength and tenderness can coexist. It bridged mythology and science, creating a mechanic that was both quantifiable and poetic. It turned evolution into an act of emotion rather than biology. It reminded us that connection is the rarest and most powerful form of energy, something that can bend even the laws of nature. And so, as the lights dim on this story, the legacy of Mega Evolution remains, not as a battle mechanic, but as a gentle reminder that every living being, no matter how small, carries infinite potential within. That power without empathy is hollow, and empathy without courage is incomplete, and that somewhere between those two lies harmony, the quiet light that glows when we choose to understand. So tonight, as you rest, Imagine that soft pulse of color filling the darkness around you, the same gentle rhythm that links hearts across worlds. The light of the keystone fades, the trainer lowers their hand, and peace returns. Yet even in the stillness, the warmth remains. That warmth is what Mega Evolution was always meant to represent: the comfort of connection, the serenity of understanding, and the eternal truth that love itself is the greatest transformation of all.